of monster are you? The Wolverine.
Well, that's just lazy writing.
My friends bought me some cool new merch for my birthday. I got this Top Gun Maverick t-shirt and this alien hat, so I thought I'd wear it. And then because of the recent news, I wouldn't have to get ready and do my hair. The unfortunate casualty of that is that I do look like a bit of a hipster. Excuse me, have you got any filters? So finally we have confirmation on exactly when Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool is going to join the MCU, and it is of course in September 2024, as if we needed any more MCU projects on the go at the moment. But the thing that is surprising, the massive twist that we now all know about, is that Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, yes, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine is going to appear in the movie.
Go fuck yourself.
Reynolds dropped this on his YouTube channel. What a hack. And then had a follow-up video where he was sat next to Hugh, and they both said that they weren't going to be touching the ending of Logan. The sanctity of that movie remains.
How is Wolverine alive after Logan?
Logan takes place in 2029, totally separate thing. Logan died in Logan, not touching that.
And I have to say, I think that is a big bunch of bullshit. Obviously, bringing back Hugh Jackman in any context as Wolverine himself, and especially in the MCU, has just made the ending of Logan, the fact that it was meant to be the closure to his 17-year stint as the character, that it was meant to be him saying everything he could possibly want to say with the mutant Wolverine, that has now all been entirely squashed.
You always had said that Logan was going to be his last Wolverine movie, that this has to be the best one, and it has to hit a bar that perhaps some of the other movies hadn't hit before.
And in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about why. I'm going to talk about the obvious gains that we get from him coming back and the things that excite me as a fan, because I'm not made of stone here. Hugh Jackman's Wolverine is the GOAT. He's up there with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. I love that character. I love that portrayal. And yes, of course, I would like to see more of him, but it goes against my better judgment, and that is the idea that it was just better left alone. I want to quickly talk about today's sponsor, Marvel Collect by Topps. Marvel Collect by Topps is your one-stop shop for Marvel fans and digital card collectors alike. You can open digital packs, collect and even trade with others around the world to complete sets. I've been steadily growing my collection, and I've really been enjoying the vintage artwork cards. I personally like trying to complete missions, like completing all the cards in one set. Ooh. Additionally, there are lots of opportunities to grow your collection, like spinning the prize wheel for cards and coins, or taking advantage of free rewards like opening the mystery box. I could go on. God, I love the boost of serotonin when I get a prize. If you love Marvel and you like trading, this is the app for you. You can get pretty much any hero as long as it's Marvel. You're not going to get, like, Batman in this, obviously, because he's a different company. Why would you expect that from this advert? Stop it. Go to my link in the description to download Marvel Collects by Topps. And if you want to follow me, my username is, of course, Full Fat Videos.
You're so full of shit.
Ryan Reynolds has been courting Hugh Jackman to return as Wolverine for years. There's multiple references to the character throughout Deadpool 1 and 2, and at the end of 2, he even says that basically, forget all that Logan stuff, I'm going to convince you to come back in a couple of years, you'll see.
Eventually, you're going to hang up the claws, and it's gonna make a lot of people very sad. But one day, your old pal Wade's gonna ask you to get back in the saddle again. And when he does, say yes.
Credit to Ryan Reynolds, he has gotten the last laugh. He has managed to coax Hugh Jackman back into it.
Oh.
And I feel like it's not on Hugh and Ryan's level a corporate decision. It's not something that isn't made out of a labour of love. They both clearly adore playing both of those characters. You know Hugh Jackman's always loved touching that role, and I can see why it would be incredibly tempting for him to go back. He stated before that his two biggest regrets when he stopped being Wolverine were that he never got to be in an Avengers movie with the rest of the Marvel Pantheon, and that he never got to be in a Deadpool movie. And he also said that if he had known what a success Deadpool would have become in 2016, maybe he wouldn't have been retired so early. And that's all fair enough. And I want to say as well that the premise of this movie, a Deadpool Wolverine road trip movie, that sounds awesome. I'm fully down for that. The premise, the actors playing the characters, the fact it's even in the MCU, none of that bothers me at all. It's just the fact that Logan exists.
So thank you, and what a great role you've given everyone for so many years, and I hope this lives up to it. I hope to God, because we work really
The whole point of Logan and the reason why it was so special is because both Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman both said that this is going to be the final times they play Professor X and Wolverine respectively, and it was meant to close off decades worth of X-Men movies.
This is what life looks like. People who love each other. A home. You should take a moment. Feel it.
That was why such a somber take that was finally R-rated was such a big deal. It not only was a closure point for Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, but it was also a chance for him to do all the things that he'd never gotten to do. We finally got R-rated Wolverine, we finally got a more adult story. I mean, not that the first two X-Men movies didn't tell adult stories, but we got it in a way that we hadn't had before. No one wants to see their heroes perish, and we got exactly that with Wolverine in Logan. One of the things that I really love about that movie, and about the death specifically, is that he doesn't win his final battle. He gets straight up brutalized and murdered. This isn't like Robert Downey Jr.'s I Am Iron Man moment where he ultimately gets the last laugh on Thanos. Wolverine is so old and so feeble at this point that he can put up a fight to his last breath, and he does. It dispenses with the notion of the superhero myth in its ending, and in a way Endgame does not. For a superhero, but especially one like Wolverine, seeing him lose and die without attaining victory or the last laugh strips away the conceit that they exist as invulnerable paragons of justice to defeat evil again and again. Logan is heroic because he manages to save someone in death, and not because he squashes evil and saves the day. There is really no day to save, no overriding notion of good being able to completely thwart the evils of our world. He can't stop the bad guys because the evil in this film is immutable and larger than any single superhero can overcome. All Logan can do is finally give everything in service of saving someone else and die just like any other man. Killing off Wolverine is surely the logical endpoint for this character. He can't die, he watches everyone around him die, he is destined to be a lonely, tortured warrior forever. Logan is a metatextual end for Jackman's entire performance in the role, and it is so hard to move on from such a weighty, significant milestone for the character, one that typifies what makes the mutant work in the first place. He is no match for the much younger, more potent X-24, and it is an absolute brutalisation. When X-24 throws him onto that bark and just eviscerates him, it is hard to watch because he's a hero that, you know, for many people like me, grew up with since the 2000s. He's the Wolverine. As I say, he's as important to the kickstarting the Marvel era of superhero cinema as Blade and as Spider-Man. That three, they're the Holy Trinity. My God. Which also makes it doubly frustrating that Blade only preceded Hugh Jackman's Wolverine by 2 years, and yet we're getting a Blade movie with a new star. Not that I don't like Mahershala Ali or think he's a bad choice for Blade, but the fact we're getting a new star with a movie that's in development hell, which is reportedly going to focus on Dracula's daughter more than the Daystalker himself. That is so disappointing. If you can bring back Tobey Maguire from 2002, and if you can bring back Hugh Jackman from 2000 onwards, then you can definitely bring back Wesley Snipes' Blade from 1998 onwards. The years of difference are so minute, and if you're bringing back these superheroes into the modern day, then I don't see why you can't do it to the ultimate vampire hunter himself. Kevin Feige, man. some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill. I can see why Reynolds wanted Hugh Jackman to be in a Deadpool movie, but it's unfortunately just too late, in my opinion. Once you do Logan, once you say that's the ending, you risk breaking what made that so special by going back in any capacity. Well, apart from in one capacity that I spoke about all the way back in 2019 when I did a video on a bunch of MCU pitches for Phase 5. I pitched a Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman movie, but there was a crucial difference to my pitch.
Deadpool 2387. Deadpool uncovers a terrifying secret. His universe has been bought by Disney and it is about to collapse. He, Vanessa and the other mainstays from his series manage to escape through a portal just in time to our universe, the real world, and they enlist the help of Hugh Jackman, the actor, to get them a meeting with some top brass Disney execs to barter their way into the MCU. So you get to say goodbye in a funny way to the old Fox-Men universe. Maybe we even get a This Is The End style sequence where you get to see all the old cast back for 30 seconds as they die horrifically, crushed in the collapse of their cinematic universe. We then finally get the Deadpool Wolverine movie Ryan Reynolds has always wanted, in a manner of speaking, as he and actor Hugh Jackman, playing himself, embark on a hilarious road trip to make it to Disney headquarters. The villain, Kevin Feige, played by John Malkovich, dispatches assassins to hunt down and kill Deadpool Mr. Jackman before they can reach Disney and demand to join his cinematic universe. It's Last Action Hero meets Deadpool, and at the end he of course succeeds and we see him join the MCU. And then from there Deadpool is just in the MCU and he never mentions the events of this movie ever again. Maybe Cable should have a fight with Thanos. I mean, this one is basically non-canon and it's technically not in the MCU, so just go balls to the wall and have fun with it. Do all the things that you wouldn't be allowed to do if you actually put Deadpool in the MCU.
And I think that's a way of having your cake and eating it, in my humble opinion, because then you get the interplay between Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, and you also get the comedy angle because Hugh Jackman's playing himself. You can kind of do what they do in Extras, where they play bastardized versions of their real life selves, and then you could get in all of the Greatest Showman singing side of Hugh Jackman, all the Broadway styles of Hugh Jackman, and you could also get him raging out and being Wolverine for an action sequence. Like, you know, it's Deadpool, it's meta, the reality is completely magical. I don't see why Hugh Jackman couldn't pull out the claws for a scene. So you could basically get all the things that you'd get from having Wolverine there, just within Hugh Jackman as a different entity. And then you could also have Hugh Jackman commenting on the fact that he's not going to go back to the role, and that Wolverine's Logan was a beautiful bit of closure, and, you know, Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool could be like, oh, but come on, we want you to come back just one more time. You know, you could have had all of that fun stuff. So I think it would have been much stronger if they'd announced that Hugh Jackman was going to be in the movie playing Hugh Jackman. And maybe there's still a slight possibility that could be the twist when it comes out, and that's what Ryan and Hugh mean in their YouTube video when they say that it's not going to break the sanctity of Logan, but I doubt it because they've officially announced him back as playing Wolverine specifically. So I think it would be odd if they now went back on that and said that actually, you're not really getting Wolverine, you're getting Hugh Jackman. I think we're getting full tilt Wolverine, whether it's a variant or from an earlier point in the timeline. And by the way, I want to point out that the logistics of the canon are not what bother me about this. I don't care if they pull Logan out from 2028, a year before Logan is set. I don't care if it's a variant of the character. I don't care if he's not playing a Wolverine from the X-Men movie continuity at all. Like, they yank out like the comic book Wolverine from 616, it just happens to be Hugh Jackman's face, or the animated series Wolverine, or anything like that. The why he's there does not matter. As I said, it's a magical reality. You can cook up any reason you want Wolverine to be in the picture whatsoever. What bothers me is the continuity of the art behind the character. And, you know, like, there's raging debates every year ever since Martin Scorsese said that superhero films aren't cinema. And I feel like he was proven right in No Way Home when you go back and rewatch that scene of Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire coming in, and there's these awkward sitcom-esque pauses because that's where the audience cheers were supposed to go, and there's a lessened impact when you watch it at home. That sort of reveals that it is ultimately a theme park rather than a piece of film. And then again with this, I feel like that has further revealed the corporate machinations behind these things, no matter how much they are delivered with labours of love by the filmmakers who create them and by the actors who inhabit those roles, there is still that veneer of the insidious corporate strategy of companies like Disney, who cannibalized and destroyed 20th Century Fox, and then they took all of their movies, things like Prey, and stuck them on Disney Plus, when that is a 20th Century Fox movie. That is not a Disney movie. There is no way Disney should own Alien or Predator or The Terminator. It boils my blood to no end, and it is a shame that Avatar did not come out like 6 years sooner, because maybe Avatar could have saved Fox from all of this mess and from all of its stable of characters going into the Disney behemoth and just being swallowed up like the black hole that corporation is. The entire artistic expression behind Logan, the movie, is that it was meant to bring about a close, not to the continuity of the Wolverine character, but to Hugh Jackman playing that character. I look at Logan as a what if anyway. I see Logan's Wolverine as a variant to the original X-Men continuity as it is, because for me, the definitive X-Men movie timeline ending is in X-Men Days of Future Past, when they restore the timeline, they undo the deaths of Cyclops and Jean, and they're building towards a brighter future, which has got nothing to do with the Sentinels and the coming apocalypse. And everyone's there, everyone's together. Wolverine and Professor X get to share a smile with each other that they've made it, they've done it. And for me, I want that to be their happily ever after. I don't like the idea that Logan takes place a few years after that. I think it just, you know, again, like what we're doing with Deadpool 3 to Logan.
Is everything all right?
Yeah, I think it is.
Logan kind of ruins the ending of Days of Future Past. So for me, Logan is in a separate timeline. Perhaps it takes place years and years after X3 rather than after Days of Future Past. And that's in my own personal headcanon, I'm aware of that. But I think that the fact that it exists in of itself does not mean that you can just go ahead and make Deadpool 3. The thing that makes Logan so good is that it was Hugh Jackman looking back on all the times he played Wolverine in all those kind of different defunct continuities, including X-Men Origins Wolverine, which is clearly not canon to Logan because the adamantium bullets work completely differently, and saying, what else do I want to say with this character? What else do I want to inhabit? What different sides of him do I want to show? And how do I want to close off what it means to be this character and this mutant? And I think he did all of that. It's a beautiful film. It's one of the few times in the last 5 years that superhero movies have broken the mold and given us something different and traded on real potent human emotions. And it's just such a shame that for the sake of some cheap comedy in a Deadpool movie, we're just going to undo all of that. It's not like Shawn Levy has gone into my house and broken in and taken my Logan Blu-ray and stomped on the ground and crushed it, like, you know, Warner Bros. Is doing with all of its digital media purchases like Final Space. That is, again, disgusting. But it's not like Shawn Levy's done that to me. But it just ruins the meaning behind Logan. I've seen a lot of debate on this on places like Twitter and TikTok already, saying like, oh, it doesn't break the sanctity of that movie, you're just being pretentious if you think that, it's a chance for us to do something in like a separate bubble of continuity. But I just have to ask, like, if you can't create an ending, then what is the point? Vision says, in the MCU no less, that a thing is not beautiful because it lasts. And Wolverine's time on the big screen in that first iteration starring Hugh Jackman was beautiful because it came to a close. It came to a close before Endgame, before all of this other stuff. Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield coming back, that's fine because their stories ended in more of an open manner, particularly Garfield. But with Logan and with Professor X, it just makes me slightly sad that we've gotten Stewart in Multiverse of Madness and we're going to get Hugh Jackman in Deadpool 3 because it just reopens the wounds, and it just says that any attempt at finality on superhero cinema is now going to be like superheroes in comic books. They say they're going to die, they say that's going to be it, and then they're going to wheel them out years later, and everyone's going to cheer again, and nobody's going to care about the meaning behind any of their last appearances because it doesn't matter. All people want to see is heroes clashing with other heroes. I get it, you know? Like, Wolverine, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, is up there with the best of them. X-Men 2 is one of the best superhero movies of all time. It is no doubt up there with Spider-Man 2 and The Dark Knight, and Hugh Jackman's Wolverine is the centerpiece to why that works. He's one of the GOATs, so obviously there is a part of me amongst all of this that is just like you, that is saying, oh my god, this is so exciting. Hugh Jackman's Wolverine is going to be in the yellow suit, he's going to get to fight more of his rogues, he might meet Omega Red, he might get to meet some MCU characters, he might get to fight the Hulk, he might end up in Avengers Secret Wars, oh my god! And that stuff is exciting, it is, and I can see the appeal. I don't think that you're an idiot for wanting Hugh Jackman to be in the MCU and for wanting Wolverine to be in all of these things, and it does make sense with the multiverse saga if we're going to get Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield in Secret Wars. Once the toothpaste is out of the tube, as far as I'm concerned, once you bring Wolverine back once, you might as well just bring him back a bunch of times. Now that we know he's going to be in Deadpool 3, I see no problem with him being in Kang Dynasty or Secret Wars, or both. I see the appeal, I see why it's exciting, I just wish it didn't have to be this way. I wish in hindsight Hugh Jackman had maybe thought about the fact that he wanted to do more things with the character still, and that he maybe retired a bit too early. And, you know, as well at the same time, maybe if they'd come out the gate and said, Logan is just going to be this one-off R-rated story that we want to tell, and he still died in that, but they still made X-Men movies down the line, it would be weird, and it would take the punch out of that movie, but it wouldn't be quite the sucker punch we're getting now. You know, because the reality for the last 5 years has been that that's where Hugh Jackman's time ended, and that was what made it so powerful. And now you have to kind of rewatch Logan and look back on it and re-examine it and recontextualize it in the wake of Deadpool 3, and that's just a shame. I get that people have a love and adoration for these movies, and particularly for the old X-Men movies, and I get that, and I hear you, but I just can't help but find more and more as the years go on with the MCU, it is impossible to separate my love for these characters and for the movies when they are good, and the corporate strategy that lay behind it. And it is such a shame that we're getting this because Disney killed 20th Century Fox, and because they can't stop a good thing. Like, I think the MCU should have made less movies after Endgame, not more. We've got the rumour that Kevin Feige is spread too thin across all of those projects, that was coming out of the tidbits we got on Blade recently, because obviously it's lost its director, and apparently Mahershala Ali is unsatisfied with the script. And I think that's not surprising in the least, because you look at the amount of hours and the amount of content we've gotten from Phase 4 alone, and it dwarfs every other phase in the MCU previously. You know, look at 2014, we got 2 good MCU movies, and then we got a great Hugh Jackman X-Men movie on top. And then we got a Spider-Man movie, which wasn't very good, but the less said about that, the better. But that just shows like the diversity in movie making that we got in superheroes even not that long ago. I just think it's sad that we're watering down all of these products to fit this larger cinematic whole. I also have to refer back to a video I made this year in January about the fact that the Fox X-Men should just be ported over to the MCU, and my reasons for saying that were that it would be exhausting for a 20-year franchise to be rebooted in the MCU with a whole new cast of characters, when largely a lot of those movies were very good, they were, and the casting for a lot of those movies was spot on, and the fact, crucially, that they have already brought back Evan Peters, Patrick Stewart, and now Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds. They are 4 key cornerstones of that universe, and they've all popped up or will pop up in the MCU. I just think the more they do that, the more they just risk making this new X-Men reboot, which we will inevitably get, so alienating and so exhausting from the word go. What's the point in doing a reboot of the X-Men at this point? It's a multiverse. You can do variants, you can reset the continuity. I don't see why, you know, the fact that we're going to get probably Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart in Secret Wars anyway says to me that we should get the rest of the X-Men and we should just merge the universes, and it will just be so much better, because Audiences are already accustomed to those faces. There's still room to tell more stories. You're telling me James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender wouldn't crush it in an MCU X-Men movie? They would. They do so well. Particularly in the case of Deadpool, it would be weird if Deadpool 3 didn't feature his version of Colossus, Negasonic Teenage Warhead, Cable. Even though he's played by Josh Brolin, again, the continuity's a mess anyway. You could absolutely bring back Josh Brolin as Cable, just make a jive about him already being Thanos, and that's fine. So that's a whole host of other characters. I imagine Daphne Keen's X-23 will at least get a mention in this new Wolverine appearance, maybe even an appearance herself. She could be the next Wolverine. Like, we're doing a load of legacy characters taking up the mantle. That seems to be a recurring theme in the new era of the MCU, so I don't see why Hugh Jackman couldn't pass the torch to her. I really hope Lev Schreiber comes back as Sabretooth in this Deadpool 3 movie. One, because that would make perfect sense in terms of the comedy. They all first appeared in X-Men Origins Wolverine with Hugh Jackman, so you could get loads of jokes out of that. But also, he was perfect casting for Sabretooth. He's a great performance in an otherwise terrible movie, and I love the dynamic between him and Hugh Jackman in that one. So I think, you could definitely revive that. Screw the continuity, you don't need to mention anything that happened character-wise in X-Men Origins Wolverine, and you just put them together and have them have the rematch of the century.
Give me the adamantium.
Tuscan.
We had a deal!
Would never survive the operation.
I can take anything he can. No, you can't.
Is Logan ruined? Possibly. I think personally, yes, the sheen has been taken off a little bit, even though it shall remain one of the best superhero movies of all time. And yes, I am excited at the prospect of seeing Kevin Feige's dream realised of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man standing alongside Hugh Jackman's Wolverine on screen. I am excited about the idea that he'll be in the yellow costume. I am excited by the idea that he will fight the Hulk or meet a whole bunch of MCU characters. But at the same time, I always think back to The Matrix Resurrections, which told us that in reality, you don't really want these things. You think you do. You think you want these characters to keep coming back, and you think you want to rekindle the magic and the love that you had for them when they appeared on screen when you were younger, but in actuality, it can only disappoint in some way, shape or form. I wasn't charmed as much as others by No Way Home, so maybe I'm on a different pathway with all of this, and that's okay, but just for me, the filmmaking is paramount. The filmmaking that Sam Raimi and James Mangold brought to both of those characters respectively is something that hasn't been replicated by John Watts in No Way Home and will not be replicated by Shawn Levy in Deadpool 3. When Logan came out, I did think, it is a shame that we never got to see Hugh Jackman in the yellow outfit, but at the same time, does it really matter? Like, all the things we're going to get out of a Deadpool 3 appearance don't trump the emotional brilliance and the clarity of character in Logan. Like, there's nothing in it, like even him fighting the Hulk, as cool as it would be, or him getting the yellow outfit, it just doesn't top any of those things. They're just sprinkles, it's just window dressing, it's fine, but it's not what we should be really here for. We should be here for the stories and for what interesting narrative questions can be raised by these characters coming back, not just the nostalgic joy of seeing them like you're a rat in an experiment.
This is what it feels like.
A big thank you to my full fat tier patron, Dr. Chike. If you'd like to donate money to my Patreon, you can find me at patreon.com/fullfatvideos. If you'd like to find me on Instagram, you can find me at full_fat_videos. And if you'd like to find me on Twitter, you can find me at fullfatvideos.